while I was surprised that I ran 2:33, I think I knew that, like, for a while that I could be a really good marathoner.
Welcome to the Marathon Podcast. My name is Christian Warwick. Warwick runs on Instagram and YouTube. Really happy to have you here for this special episode of the Stamata series with Katy Presley. I'm so excited to roll out another episode of the Stamata series, the Tracksmith Stamata team. If you're not familiar with it, go check them out on YouTube or Instagram. It's a team that Tracksmith created a few months back, I guess. It's all about having these girls qualify for the Olympic trials. Today's guest is Katy, and Katy ran a 2:33 marathon when she ran her first marathon. And since then, she's been struggling a little bit with injuries, or quite a lot with injuries. And we're touching a lot on that. And I think that this episode will serve as great inspiration for anyone who is currently or will ever face any injuries and have to deal with that. In this series, I'm not going to talk about myself, so we're just going to jump straight to the conversation with Katy. But if you have noticed that there are more episodes coming out of from the Marathon Podcast lately, kind of every day, it's because I'm having so many recordings. I don't want them to be wasted or expire, if that makes sense. So as of right now, it seems like it's a daily podcast. We'll see how long I'll keep that up. But I hope that you're enjoying all the episodes and that you are having a good time listening to this. Enjoy your run. Enjoy this conversation with Katy. Katy, welcome to the Marathon Podcast.
Thanks so much for having me. Super excited to be on your podcast.
I'm excited to have you on too. It's fun because we actually met in person, and most of the guests that I have on here I haven't met in person, but we met in Boston, and that was nice.
Yeah, it was super great to meet you at the Tracksmith Stamata event. It was a
Yeah,
lot of fun. The energy that weekend was incredible.
it was, and I want to continue on our conversation that we had just before we started recording here. Obviously, you're going to introduce yourself soon, but you were there in Boston, like you said, for the Tracksmith Stamata event, and you did not race Boston yourself. How is it to be there as such a competitive athlete as you are, like such a good athlete, and be in Boston and not race that weekend? Does it give you a lot of FOMO?
I did have FOMO. Yeah, doing the shakeout run and just being around the community and hear everyone's excitement for the marathon, whether it was their first time or their 7th time. Just hearing about how excited they were to do it. I knew the weather was gonna be great, and just being such a historic event, it's just always been on my bucket list, especially after, hearing my mom, she did it a couple times, and I've always wanted to do it. So, definitely had FOMO, but I think, I had to realize where I'm at right now in training, and, I just knew leaving, like, I saw the finish line in person, and I was like, "I know I'm gonna be there one day." So, yeah, a little bit of FOMO, but I think overall it was just a really cool experience. I'm really glad I got to speak on the panel, meet so many cool runners, um, go to the Tracksmith store, and yeah, it was a great
Mhm.
weekend.
Yeah. Okay, I wanted to introduce yourself. Before you do, I just wanna, I guess, like, and Tracksmith is not sponsoring this podcast or anything, but I want to thank them for that event and for connecting us, because it was uh I've been following you guys and Tracksmith obviously for a very long time, but just being able, there's something special about having that screening, and then you had a panel, like you said, after, where you were answering questions, and it was so fun. So a little shout out to Tracksmith for giving us that opportunity. I think that that is also the reason we're sitting here today, so that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so if you could just present yourself, who you are, how long you've been running for, like how running started for you, and also who you are outside of running.
Sure. So yeah, my name is Katy Presley. I'm from Northern Virginia. I grew up playing a lot of different sports, but soccer was my primary sport, and I had dreams to play in college. And then my junior year, I did cross country to get in shape for soccer. I had no intention of really doing it in college at all. I just was like, oh, just it'll help me with my fitness. I had a lot of friends on the team that encouraged me to join, and I went to Lake Braddock High School in Fairfax County, and that school has always been really, really good at cross country and track. Many state titles, a lot of Foot Locker qualifiers. So just a really good environment to be in with great coaching and a great team. And I remember my first cross country race. It was probably like 2 miles, and I had no idea what I was doing. It was so hot. It was like that season opener race where it's just like still at the end of summer, and really had no idea what I was doing. I had at that point probably attended like a few weeks of practice, but I ended up getting second place, and my coach said, "Welcome to varsity." So then I quickly went from JV to varsity and ended up being the second or third runner on the team. Uh, and then that year we won the state championship. So yeah, going from joining the sport and not really knowing a whole lot about it to being on this really great team was a really cool experience. And then by my senior year, I made Foot Locker Nationals. So at that point, I was like, maybe I have a future in running. And I was kind of late to the game with recruiting for soccer. You got to start early with that. So I kind of changed my mind, changed my plans, and started looking at schools to run at. Um, and then that led me to the University of Kentucky, where I did the steeplechase and cross country and was all American. Really exceeded my expectations. Going into my freshman year, I wasn't doing long runs at that point. I didn't really know what interval workouts were. I was still like a newbie. And my freshman year got into the steeplechase and outdoor track. And while I handled the hurdling really well, the water jump was really hard for me at first. And I remember my first ever steeplechase race. We went on our spring break trip. We went to San Antonio, and I fell on like the second water jump, and that video went viral on like Facebook and all the social medias back then. But I remember, like, it was probably on the Flow Track or the Let's Run page, and it got thousands of views, like, me wiping out, and, I'm really proud of myself because I didn't quit that event, and I kept going, and I do have a really gnarly scar on my leg from getting spiked one time in the steeplechase and getting stepped on, but, I eventually figured out the water jump, and, by my junior and senior year, I became an All-American in that event, and that
Wow.
led me to a really cool opportunity to run for Hoka, on the New Jersey New York Track Club. So after college, I moved to Westchester, New York, just north of the city, and lived in Sleepy Hollow and was on a really cool team there. And my goal was to go to the Olympic trials and make the final. And I was able to accomplish that. COVID kind of messed things up a little bit, and I ended up coming back to Kentucky to train with my college coach. But I ended up making the final at the trials in 21. And then after that, I kind of checked all the boxes I wanted to accomplish with the steeplechase, and that's when I was like, "I think I'm ready for the marathon." I've always
So
been
straight from the steeplechase to the
yeah,
marathon. Wow.
yeah. Well, I did so I guess right after that, my I was getting my master's at Kentucky, and I still wanted to train at a high level, but I also wanted to start my marketing career. And so while I was getting my master's in marketing, I was training for a couple half marathons. So I did the Indianapolis half and it went really well. And my coach was like, I think you're really ready to do the marathon. And that was not on my plan for the year. I knew I would do it maybe the next year, but I was like, really? Like, you think I can do that already? And he's like, yeah, your training's going really well. And so I signed up for CIM. This was end of 22. And yeah, I qualified for the Olympic trials and I ran 2:33, uh, finishing really strong. I think I had a lot left in the tank after going out pretty conservatively. But yeah, really, really happy with that race. And unfortunately, I had a uh, labral tear in my hip. I was having a lot of groin pain. And it took me a while to figure that out, but once I did, I was so happy because that was a really dark time for me, just, going months and months without figuring out this injury. I've always had a healthy career at that until that point, and, yeah, really never had to take time off running, so that was frustrating, but once I figured it out, it's like, "Okay, I have a step forward, and I can get back to running." And then, yeah, as you know, I didn't get to race at the Olympic trials, because I ended up or sorry, no, let me scoot back. I qualified for the trials, but then later did not get to race because of the labral tear. So, didn't get to compete at that. Um, and then after my right hip was repaired and I was back to training, um, I got fit again, and then unfortunately, like, as I was about to race grandma's last summer, same thing happened to my left hip. So, currently, I'm, yeah, training for the trial still, but still building back from my last surgery in August. And
Yeah.
I'm on Tracksmith Stamata now, which is, um, a group of, 15, 16 women. We're all trying to chase the Olympic trials, and the group is led by Steph Bruce. So that's been an incredible experience, to be with
Mhm.
that team and uh, chase this goal together. So that was kind of a long intro, but it was my whole
No,
story.
thank you for that. I love that because this kind of just gives us a great foundation for our whole conversation. It's just, I think it, from a storytelling perspective, this is great because you're teasing people with a lot of things that I'm sure, in the same way that I'm curious now after that introduction, a lot of the listeners will be as well. Um, first of all, uh, did you say that your first marathon was the 2:33?
It was. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was not I was really hoping to just run under 2:37. Um,
Mm,
my coach was really certain I could probably run like 2:35 or faster. And yeah, he had me go out pretty conservative the first half. So I think I was going around, 6-minute pace, 5:50s, and then I remember the last 5K, I think I was going like 5:30s. So felt
mm.
super good at the end and
Wow.
had a lot left in me, but um yeah, it was a great experience. My fueling, everything went well, for being a newbie and not knowing what I was doing, I think everything fueling-wise went well, and found a really good group of girls to work with. So yeah, it was so fun. I loved it.
Because the first thing that comes to mind for me is that you come from. I would almost call it a different sport. Obviously, it's running. Running is involved in both of them, but it's still they're so different that you can't really compare them. Uh,
Yeah.
and then you run this marathon, and I understand that based on what your coach said and what that you even had a goal of running a sub 2:37, then that means that you knew based on your training that you were pretty good. uh, but still, it's your first race, your first competition, and in a lot of ways you could say, at least from the outside, that that is a life-changing moment where you're like, oh wow, I'm a pretty good marathoner, and more than pretty good, I'm a very good marathoner. What was that moment like, and do you feel like that kind of changed the way you looked at the future as an athlete?
That's a good question. I think coming off the Olympic trials and the steeplechase, that was probably the fittest I've ever been in my life, on the track. So I knew I was really strong, and I think I just kept that fitness rolling and just added in the long run workouts, which were still really, yeah, they were new to me, and it was really hard at first. I remember the first long run workout I did, my coach was like, "Okay, go do, I don't know, 14, 15 miles with 3 by 3 miles in the middle at like 6-minute pace." And I was like, "What?" Like, I've never done anything like that. And I remember it being really hard. But after a few months, I kind of like figured it out and got better and was able to go much faster on those kind of long run workouts. But I've always been a runner that has excelled in the longer workouts, like mile repeats. That was my bread and butter. I always thrived on long runs, and I knew even at a young age, like when I was doing like in soccer games, like I was always the one that was like not tired at halftime and I could just keep going and not need to be subbed out. So I knew like the endurance and strength was there. And I think the steeplechase just is an event where you got to be really strong and gritty, and I think that just helped me with the marathon. So, while I was surprised that I ran 2:33, I think I knew that, like, for a while that I could be a really good marathoner, just because I've been so durable other than my 2 hip surgeries. I've been a really durable athlete, and I've been able to handle the high mileage really well. So yeah, just doing the workouts, the long run workouts and high mileage, I think, yeah, I was a little surprised, but also had a feeling this event was for me.
Yeah, yeah, cool. And in terms of like everything around here, because you are like you're running that at a high level, and like you said, you're part of Tracksmith Stamata, so that means you don't really have, as of right now at least, like a contract with any uh, brands other than Tracksmith, I guess. Uh, do you have a job now that you are doing on the side? So like how is that combining
Yeah.
running and a job?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, when I was running for Hoka, we were kinda just babysitting on the side, and I remember loving running full time and having that as my focus, but at the same time, I was like, "Man, I really want to start my marketing career," and I've always wanted to get my master's degree. So, yeah, after I got my master's at Kentucky, I was really excited to start my marketing career because I know, as much as I want to focus on running, like, full time, uh, in the long run, I think it's also important to have if something were to happen where I couldn't run, it's like, you need to have that other
Yeah.
income source. So,
Mm.
yeah, I'm a marketing manager. I'm in healthcare. Maybe one day I'll be in the sports world, but for now, yeah, I'm really loving my job and company. Um, Luckily, I get to work from home most days of the week. I probably go into the office like 1 to 2 times a week, but it's really flexible because my team's across the country. So I'm really like the only. Even my boss doesn't live here in Cincinnati, so I'll go in the office a couple times, but it does help with my training that it's flexible enough that I can run during lunch. I try and have like a really good routine, but yeah, it because now that I'm working full time, I have to be really good about, spending my Sundays meal prepping as much as I can, being really good about sleep, making some sacrifices uh, yeah, so it's definitely harder, but I think, I'm really somebody that is like, once I get in my routine, I really excel and lock in, so with training, so
Mm. Yeah. I was planning on saving this for a bit later, but since you mentioned the marketing and like in my opinion, Tracksmith is so good at the marketing, and you're a part of that team, and you've been able to work closely with Tracksmith, and as someone who's then been majoring in marketing, how has that been like, and how much have you been able to kind of learn and take away from working so closely with Tracksmith?
yeah, definitely learning, I mean, doing the day in the life yesterday on the Stamata page was kind of like a glimpse in, like, helping, promote Tracksmith and what they're doing. They supported me through the Olympic trials, for track and now the marathon, so I think I really appreciate what they're doing and telling, this group of women, like, their stories. It's so inspiring. I mean, you met with Maria, but Elizabeth and Allie, like, we all have, like, such unique stories, and I love how they chose women that the rest of the population can relate to,
Yeah.
because they see that, like, yeah, these runners that are running 2:20, like, they're not as relatable, like, they're full-time runners. So I think picking this group of women, it was a really special it's been a special thing that they've been doing, and, I really appreciate that from a marketing perspective.
And from a marketing perspective, it's okay if you don't if you don't have any thoughts around or on this, but why do you think that Tracksmith has succeeded the way they have?
Succeeded in the way that they have, you said?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think just being so runner focused and everything is made for the runner, at least for me, like, I can relate to the brand because I know when, like, I'm putting on their clothing, like, it was made for me as a marathoner, whereas, like, maybe other brands they're making apparel for other things like yoga or other activities. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I think yeah, them supporting the amateur athlete, uh, I think that's really cool, and I can relate
Mhm.
to that.
Yeah. Cool. And I'm not sure if I actually asked Maria about how it works, with the Stamata team, and the support that you guys get, and how it works, because obviously it's not, or my impression is that it's not like a fully professional organized team. It's like you have camps every now and then, you get
Yes.
some support, but what is it actually like for you guys as an athlete? How much support do you get, and what are the kind of the conditions for being a part of that
Yeah,
group?
that's a good question. They take care of us when we have a team marathon, so twice a year. They'll, handle transportation, hotels, and all the racing things we need, like massages beforehand, stuff like that. And then the apparel's been great. Love their clothing, great quality. Their shoes are awesome. And then the camps twice a year has been huge. We get to connect with the team more, train. the last one we did in February was in Flagstaff, and I was so glad to go back there because when I ran for Hoka, we did a camp out there for a whole month, and I remember leaving and thinking like, "Man, I wish I can come back here one day and train," and really didn't think it would happen, and because of Stamata, I got to go back and run on the same dirt roads and, run on Lake Mary Road and, work out with the team. So I think whenever we come together and do workouts or long run workouts or just easy runs, it brings out the best in us, and you never know what you're gonna get when you get a group of 15 women from across the country that have never met, but we all just have connected so well, and yeah, it's incredible. We're all, like, great friends and support each other and inspire each other. So yeah,
Mhm.
they Stamata's been really supportive, and I appreciate that, when I was doing the interview to be on the team, I was upfront with them and I said, "I just had my labrum repaired. I just had surgery. I won't be running for another 2.5 months." And that's just, building back up. So for them to believe in me is so huge. And that's
I
really
love
special.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
that is really cool. No, that says a lot about them as a brand and the values that they have. And I think that is something that, you know, uh, I've owned uh, things from Tracksmith for a long time. But when I had Matt Taylor on the podcast in like early fall last year, I I was like, I kind of fell in love with the brand because of the values and all of the things that he was talking about. And so there was something about that just made me want to wear it more. And it's so interesting because,
totally.
and I don't know, I'm curious about your take on this actually from a marketing perspective, because something that I'm realizing more and more is that it's actually the exact same thing with Sunto that you guys are also wearing with Jeff Stern from Sunto that I met at that same event. Like with him, with Massimo, with Matt Taylor, you kind of fall in love with the people, and because of that and because of those connections you fall in love with the brand even more. And so for me now it feels almost weird because I obviously also have running clothes from other brands,
Mhm.
but I don't feel like wearing it. I feel like, oh, if I'm wearing that I have to hide that because I don't want to betray them. And the same way
Yeah.
I'm still running with a Garmin, but I'm like, oh, that also feels weird because I have this connection with Jeff now and Sunto. So like, I should probably get a Sunto watch, and that is something that I think is very interesting about the marketing strategy of these companies, that they're so like human and relationship oriented. What is your take on that from that marketing perspective as someone who is in that field?
Yeah, definitely. No, I totally agree with you. I think, yeah, building those connections is huge, having the right messaging. That's awesome that, the brand has made, you love it to a point where like it makes you feel a certain way and that you don't want to wear the other brands. And yeah, being with Sunto, that's another thing I forgot to mention is how Stamata's supporting us. They, yeah, provided us Sunto watches, which is great. Um, but yeah, being, um, yeah, if a brand is able to, yeah, make you feel that way, that's really cool, that's special.
Yeah.
Having that connection with the people and thinking about, yeah, the people you met, is really cool.
Yeah. And it's like I think that there you can obviously take advantage of that as a brand because you can be like, oh, we're just being nice because we want to make money.
Right.
But that is also not my impression. I think that's why it's working so well. When I've been in touch with the Tracksmith team, it just feels so genuine, all of it, and they never try to sell me anything. It's like it's just, I don't know, heartfelt somehow. So it's nice.
Yeah, yeah, they do a great job with their marketing.
Yeah.
Maybe I can be one of their marketing people one day.
Yeah, that would be great, wouldn't
Yeah,
it?
it's my dream job.
Yeah. Well, you should apply for that. You have
Yeah,
you're in somehow already. So
yeah.
how was it to have like a film crew or to be filmed the way that you guys were? Uh
Oh my gosh, yeah. So at the first camp in Vermont when we'd made the documentary, I couldn't run at that point. So I wasn't even in the video. And I think I had to leave a day early to go to a different trip that I had planned. But yeah, I think that was doing the docu-series has been really cool and getting to know everyone on such a personal level, seeing them in their daily life, going to their job and and handling all their training, has been really, really cool. And yeah, it's kind of fun, like, you see the video where, we're in the cabins and checking everything out, and it's like, "Wow, we feel, like, kinda famous with this camera person
Yeah.
following us around."
Mhm. Mhm.
But yeah, no, they've been doing a great job at telling everybody's stories, that can be challenging sometimes, so yeah, I think they'll have a camera person come and record, like, kind of a day in the life, and that'll add on to the docuseries for everybody, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
been cool.
Mhm. Okay, back to you and your training. I the first thing, obviously, you mentioned a couple of injuries here and the frustration of not figuring out what that injury was, and then getting another injury. I'm sure that's like super frustrating, especially after seeing what your potential is, and probably also like, oh, I can probably run faster, and then you kind of meet these two big challenges. How has that been for you to kind of deal with, and why is it that you're still sitting here working towards those dreams, and why have you not given up?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So, yeah, when I found out I had to have surgery, the first time, I was pretty devastated. I was shocked. I broke down. I couldn't believe it, and then as I reached out to friends and shared what I had to go through on Instagram and other social media, I had a lot of people reach out to me and said, "Yeah, I had my labrum repaired," and I had never heard of this type of injury or the surgery at all, but I even found out one of my teammates on the Hoka team had both hips done, and she was so happy she did it. So I think, reaching out and talking to people that dealt with that before was so helpful, and it made it seem like it wasn't gonna be as bad, but I would say going through the first surgery, I definitely felt like I was had an identity crisis because I've always had sport in my life, whether it was soccer, basketball, and then running was such a big part of it. I didn't know really who I was when I was, going through the surgery and had to recover from it, and I didn't have running. So it was a confusing time for sure. I was really negative and just I didn't know what to do with my time. I didn't have that outlet anymore. Um, and it was really frustrating. Also because before the surgery, I spent months, like, not even knowing what was wrong. I wish I got it looking back, I wish I got it MRI sooner. But yeah, I felt like without running, I was so lost.
Mm.
And, uh, going through the first surgery, my husband, he and all other people in my life were really helpful, but my husband, like, encouraged me to get a mountain bike and was like, "Let's, go bike on the trail. Let's do things you can do. Like, you need to find new hobbies. You can't just sit here and mope around that you can't run." And so that was really helpful. I also had somebody who I'm really close with remind me that I'm not just a runner, like, I'm so much more, and I think deep down I knew that, but I in that moment, I really needed somebody to tell me that, and that was really impactful for me, and I still think about that today. So after the first surgery and I was healthy again, able to run again, I was really happy, but also knew, like, okay, like, I got into these other hobbies and I learned more about myself now. So that way, when I get to the second surgery, I wasn't as upset. It wasn't as devastating. I was like, I've been through this before. I can go through it again. And now I know that as I recover and can't run for 3 months, I'm gonna be way more positive. I'm not like, every time I'm negative, I'm gonna snap out of it and say, "Life's too short to be negative and spend time being sad." So I got into, like, reading again. I spent time, getting into furniture flipping. Like, I was literally on the couch recovering from my surgery and using AI to figure out everything I needed to start my, furniture flipping side gig. Uh and
Awesome.
then yeah. So I was doing everything I can the second time around to stay more positive, and I think it helped that, just reminding myself that I'm so much more than just a runner, that that helped. It made the second surgery so, so much easier. Um, but yeah, still hard. I think now when I get to run, even if it's just like today, I just did an easy, 40-minute run. Uh, I'm just so happy that I get to go out and do that, and instead of worrying about, "Oh, I gotta hit this mileage today because I'm
Mhm.
training for this and I gotta, get ready for my workout tomorrow." It's like I can just also enjoy the run, and, it kinda made me fall in love with running again, like, back to my high school self when I really didn't know what I was doing and just had fun with friends. Like, I really missed those mornings when I could just go run with my friends. So, as much as I love training and improving and, uh, goal setting and, chasing after the OTQ, I also now, look at running a little bit differently, and I can just go out and enjoy what I'm doing instead of being so focused on my goal all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like you learned a lot throughout these years
Yeah.
of struggling with that.
Yeah, I learned, yeah, a lot about myself, learned to be more patient. I think I'm such a type A runner, where, like, yeah, I'm very focused on training, and if I have a goal that I'm gonna do everything I can to accomplish that, but learning to be a little bit more flexible with myself. Uh, I've always been, really good at handling 70, 80 miles, but recognizing that I'm coming back from this surgery, my body needs time to get back to that. And, if this next marathon build is only me running in the 60s with a lot of cross training, that's okay. I also work a full-time job now. Like, I need to be flexible. Um, I also learned that cross training is such a great tool. Before I never needed to because I never had injuries, so I was always running. And so with the first hip surgery, I had to learn how to, bike and get the most out of it, swim, aqua jog, all these things I used to not think were that beneficial. And yeah, especially with this past surgery, I was cross training really hard. And when I went to the Flagstaff camp in February with Stamata, that was the first time I did a workout. And we did shorter distances. So it wasn't like a super long workout, but I was able to hop in with the girls that run around my PR pace. And I was kind of shocked. I was like, wow, I guess my cross training paid off. So
Yeah.
I think that's another thing I learned is like that is such a great tool. And I also invested in a lever runner for my treadmill. You can run with less body weight, and so I invested in that. Like my goal is now to stay healthy um, in training. That's the priority. I know my body's been through so much, and it's it's really strong and can handle a lot, but I need to respect my body and stay healthy. So yeah,
Yeah. Eh, when you talk about this, it's you said that then you have to tell yourself not to be negative or like not let those thoughts kind of uh yeah uh, take over. And I feel like uh, that sounds like an easy thing to do, but it also doesn't sound like an easy thing to do. So, for the listeners who might find themselves in the same situation of like one injury after the other, or that same frustration that you felt,
yeah.
what would your advice be? And when you say that you're able to say that, like, okay, I have to stop being negative. How you found any tools to use to actually be able f- to have those thoughts work?
Yeah, I think, not that I'm trying to never think about running, but I kind of would take a break from Strava because it's like if I go on there, I'm just gonna be sad and see like all my friends running and training. Or but I'm still being supportive of like the Stamata team. But for an example, I got back up to running, a bit about 50 miles a week, not too long ago, back in like March, and I had a little setback. The front of my hip felt a little off. It wasn't painful, but I worked with my PT and figured out that my glute med and my left hip flexor were still weak from the surgery, and so that's why things were compensating. And at first I was like getting negative because I'm like, man, I finally got up to running in the 50s and was working out again. But it's like, no, my aerobic capacity was ready to get back into working out, but my body wasn't quite ready. And so
Mhm.
recognizing that and being just okay with taking a week or 2 off and just cross training and just swimming and being like, this will just be a few weeks where I just need to put my head down and I'll be back to running in no time. It it can be really hard to stay positive. If you ask my husband, like, I mean, there's been so many times where I've been negative around him and he just says, "You just gotta be patient. You gotta trust where you are in the journey." So just reminding myself that. And one thing that's really helped me is I coach a high schooler. I've coached her since 8th grade and she's a senior now. And she's she just committed to a D3 school. I'm really excited for her, and she's gone through a
Wow.
lot of mental struggles and injuries, and I'm always telling her these things like, "Be patient, don't push your body,
Mhm.
remember to hydrate," like, all these things, and it's like, I just need to listen to my own advice sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that if I had to give advice, I'd say maybe try and find a different hobby, and remind yourself that, running isn't everything. And it can be a little bit hard to get through an injury and just take a break from running. But at the end of the day, you got to look at the long term and um, respect your body. And if you want to be running years from now when you're older, like you just need to do all those little things. And um, yes, it's hard to stay positive, but
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah. And it sounds like your husband is a great support. He seems like he's a
yeah.
nice one, a
Yeah,
good
I could
one.
not do it without him. He helps me with meal prep when I'm at the gym, like doing my cross training in the afternoon or lifting. He's making dinner for me, so that way I'm ready to eat when I get home and dinner's ready. So he helps so much with those little things, and we even did distance for a while I was living in New York training for the Olympic trials with the Hoka team. We did distance, and he's just been so patient with me and supportive. I really couldn't do it without him. It helps to have a great support system for sure.
Yeah. I think it was Jess McClain who said that like the most important decision you can make in your life is to like choose who you choose your partner. And I think that especially as an athlete, that is just crucial because
So crucial.
yeah, like you said, you have a full-time job, you need to have some support. Sometimes it is helping with meal prepping or other things that are like things you actually do, but then there's obviously that mental support, and especially when you go
Yeah,
through things like that. And it's very impressive to hear you talk about that mindset, because I think that there are so many people who would give up. Like you
yeah.
hear about people who have like they have a great potential, but it's just like one injury after the other, and then they quit. But then you also hear about the people who are, I feel like the people that I've talked to who have the same mindset as you, those are the ones that will really succeed at some point as well. So it's but it's fun to hear how you've been navigating that, and I'm sure it hasn't been easy. And like you said, there have been times where it's
Yeah.
been harder to stay positive, but it's inspiring to hear you talk about this.
Thanks. Yeah, I'd say one more thing that, kind of got me through, like, both surgeries was, um, when I remember when I first got to run again, I'm on this, like, Alter G treadmill, and my PT's like, "Okay, you can run, like, 1 minute on, 1 minute off 5 times," or something. It's, like, hardly anything. It's like,
Yeah.
gosh, I'm really starting all over. But, my fitness, yeah, it comes back, and I think you just kind of gotta look back at when you know it's gonna be, like, a longer process, like, maybe you have a bone injury or you had a surgery and it's gonna be a little bit longer than just an Achilles injury or something like that. I think it's important to kinda look back, um, recovering from a surgery, you really start to see every week, like, big progress.
Mhm.
So I remember being at, like, 1 month after my surgery, it was like, "Wow, I don't have to do these little isometric exercises, I can start doing body weight squats." And
Yeah.
then a
Yeah.
month later, it's like, okay, I can actually start doing stuff with weight. And then,
Yeah.
3 months in when I start running again, even though they're short runs, I'm like, well, think about where I was just 2 months ago. Like I couldn't even walk without a crutch.
Mhm.
So, also like remembering to look back and just remember your progress and see how far you've come is so important. And I think a lot of people maybe would have quit having 2 hip surgeries and maybe they'd be like, running's not for me.
Mhm.
My body can't handle it. But I think, um, I'm just someone who really wants to see how good I can be, and I know I have so much left in this sport, and yeah, to run the Olympic trials and the marathon in 2028 would be a dream come true, but at the same time, I if that doesn't happen, like, I'm okay with that now.
Yeah.
Running isn't everything, but I love chasing a goal, I love seeing myself improve, I love marathon training and the grind. So, yeah, I think that's just why I didn't quit. It's just so fun for me.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really cool, and I hope that the listeners listening to this can take something away from them, because what you're saying about really, you know, enjoying all all kinds of progress, or like just seeing that, or I guess acknowledging that, okay, I had progress. So yes, I'm not out running to like a long run today, but I am stronger than I was last week, or
Exactly.
you know, even maybe yesterday. I think that
Yeah.
it's such a good way of looking at it. And um, the reason I'm very curious about this is because I've never really had an injury in
Oh,
that
wow.
way.
Mm.
Like not where I've had to have a surgery and then do rehab. One thing is like, and if you get runner's knee and you have to do some more strength training, and it's just you kind of know what it takes. But with something like what you've been going through, you've had surgeries, and you need to build yourself up, and then you're doing such basic things, right? Like things that people who are not even athletes will have to do, because you just have to get back. And I've always admired people who are able to just push through that and do that, because I'm sure it's pretty boring.
Yeah, doing some of the isometric stuff the first month, I mean, you're like, one of the PT exercises is just laying on the bed and squeezing your glutes, and it's like, this is not an
Yeah,
exercise.
exactly. No.
Um, but yeah, I think celebrating those small wins and week after week, seeing yourself get stronger, that was what helped me keep going for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. We're gonna start talking a little bit about your training, your philosophy, how your training usually looks like. But before we do, you've mentioned meal prepping a couple of times, and this is kind of a personal interest of mine, kind of where I've realized that for me to be able to eat the things that I need to eat throughout a week, I should probably start meal prepping. And I'm curious about what your routine and what your structure is with that, because it seems pretty beneficial to a runner.
Oh my gosh, yeah, especially with how much you need to fuel. If you're a runner, you know you need to eat, like, a good amount of calories, and if especially if you're working full time, it makes it so much easier because, when you have a quick break during work, you don't wanna have to make a bunch of food. It's just nice to have everything ready, and you don't even have to think, and I notice that I fuel on weeks where I do meal prep, I feel so much better than when I don't, because things are just readily available in the fridge. I can just pop some sweet potatoes in the microwave or whatever it is, hard boil some eggs, and a bunch of veggies and fruit. But yeah, it's really helpful for me. I'd say every Sunday, yeah, we do our grocery trip. I try and find a good breakfast recipe, whether they're like the Lane Flanagan superhero muffins. I've been doing those a lot lately. Those are great and really filling and energizing. Or I'll do overnight oats, something pretty easy. And then as far as lunches, we'll stick with like sandwiches or healthy bowls, but it's usually a lot of rice, some kind of protein that we'll meal prep, maybe a pasta, and then a bunch of cooked veggies that are just easy to throw together with a sauce. So it's not always fancy. I don't always have the energy to do some of the recipes I save that my favorite cooks will do. So a lot of times it's simple, um, but we do love cooking and baking. Uh,
Mhm.
and I think if you're cooking it yourself, you know what you're putting in your body rather than eating out all the time. So yeah, we like that aspect of it. You just feel a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's gonna make it so much easier or like for anyone who's trying to do that. My biggest issue, and I feel like you're touching on that as well, is that especially for lunch. So breakfast usually fine, like I'll get through that, and then dinner it's very nice because my fiance is very good at cooking and she enjoys doing that. So I'm spoiled in that way. But then especially for lunch, it's hard because my fiance will ask me like, "Oh, do you need me to get you something from the grocery store?" And I was like, "No, I think I'm fine." And then the day after, I'm like, "No, I'm not fine. I don't really know what to eat."
Yeah,
And then
I'm the
I'm
same way.
just yeah, and you just end up walking around and you look in the fridge like, "Huh, no, nothing." And then you
Yeah.
walk over to the cabinet, there's like nothing. Let's see, have a look in the kitchen, in the fridge again, and you just go back and forth, and you have no idea what to get. And then sometimes you end up doing maybe the same thing as for breakfast, or worst case scenario, you just be like, oh, I don't know what to eat. And then you start snacking on some things, whereas pretzels, and those might be good for you, but not like as a meal replacement, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So when you are meal prepping, do you make like portions in containers or something like that? and then you
Yeah.
freeze them and then you reheat it? How does that look like?
Yeah, we usually do, like, just some kinda grain for the base, so, maybe, like, rice, couscous, quinoa. Sometimes for lunch, we just do sandwiches, like, something very easy, it's not that
Mhm.
exciting. But really, I try and make sure that it's enough calories to give me energy to do my double or my second cross train or my lift, and I notice that if it's I've gone sometimes get in the habit of, like, having a lighter lunch because 'cause I'm like, "Well, I'm gonna run later, so I don't want it to be too heavy," but then I'm, like, tired and don't have the energy on the long run and feel kinda sluggish, and I've noticed when I have a pretty solid lunch, I feel so much better in the afternoon, so that's something I've learned with experience, but yeah, I'd say for lunches, just getting in enough protein, so maybe we'll do chicken or, I'll hard boil some eggs maybe, as, like, a snack, for, like, a mid-afternoon snack or late morning. Sweet potatoes are great. Um, and then we'll do sometimes like a mix of veggies. Maybe it's like kale, shredded carrots, chopped onion, edamame. Just yeah, it's really whatever you like, but we just kind of throw it together and um yeah, we'll try and just portion it out in small containers so that way we can just microwave it or whatever
Yeah.
it is. Yeah.
And so that lasts will that last you throughout the week?
It usually gets us through Thursday, and then by Friday, we're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, we're starting to run out of food." So maybe we'll do, like, a date night or something, or we'll go to the
Yeah.
grocery store and make usually on Fridays, I have a little bit more energy to make a fancier recipe.
Mhm.
Um, I Half Baked Harvest, I don't know if you've heard of her, but I have a couple of her
Yeah,
cookbooks, and
yeah.
she has really great stuff. So
Mhm.
I'll usually find a recipe on her site and pick something new and exciting because you get tired of, like, the healthy meal prepped
Yeah,
meals that you had
yeah.
for 4 straight days. So usually Friday or Saturday, we're a little more adventurous.
So the meal prepping, is that for both lunch and dinner?
We try, to do breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Oh, breakfast
Sometimes
too. Okay.
yeah, sometimes, my husband will end up making dinner a couple of the nights, but we have
Mm.
it's easy stuff that you can throw together. And then for lunch, sometimes if it's just a sandwich, we'll just make it during our lunch, and because we work from home, that also helps. We're able to
Yeah.
cook stuff at home and not always have to prep the lunch, but we try and do as much as we can. Yeah.
Mhm. Wow. And so then do you have different recipes so that you don't end up eating, like, the same thing Monday,
Oh,
Tuesday,
yeah.
Wednesday, and Thursday then? Yeah.
Yeah, and that can be a little time consuming too, because then you gotta look through, all the recipes you saved on Instagram or ones in your cookbook that we try and mix it up, but sometimes it's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, man," you're just blank, and you're like, I can't think of anything to make this week," but yeah, we love, salmon is a good one, we do a lot, chicken, yeah, nothing fancy, but I think
No.
if you have enough prepped, it makes it easier to fuel and get in enough calories
Yeah, for
instead of,
sure.
like, forgetting to have a snack or something.
Yeah. I'll try to let myself inspire by that and start doing it. It sounds so much better, to be honest. I guess it's like fairly time consuming on that Sunday, but it's
Yes.
still nice to. I guess you'll thank your thank yourself when you get to Monday, Tuesday, and so
I
on.
really
Yeah,
do.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
in the middle of the week, I always tell my husband, I'm like, "Man, I'm so glad we meal prep all this Sunday." It's like, it
Oh,
really does save time during the week, so
oh. Okay. Now that is good to hear, in a way of like just finding that inspiration. And I've always been a bit curious because you hear a lot about meal prepping, and I do obviously have an idea of what it's like, but I was curious about your routine. So it's
yeah,
yeah, it's interesting. Your in terms of your training, we're gonna talk a little bit more about your cross training experiences too, since you
yeah,
said you had pretty good experiences with that. But before we do, I would love to hear for that, because I guess, does this mean that you've had like one marathon block that you've been able to do fully, and that was the one before
y
the 233?
correct.
Yeah.
I before my left hip surgery, which was in August, I was planning on doing grandma's that summer, so
Mm-hmm.
this past summer, and I had done, like, couple half marathons that went really well, so I was ready to do grandma's, and I was gonna spend the next few months training, so I'd say I kind of was, like, starting the next marathon block, but hadn't really gotten into it, so yeah, really I've only
Yeah.
done 1.
Yeah. So 1.5 maybe then, or like
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
into it.
Mhm.
But it still gives you like a lot of, you have a lot of insight into what
Mhm.
works for you and what kind of training works. So what is your And I guess you did say that you have a coach. So like you guys' philosophy in terms of training, what does I guess if you could take us through a normal week in a marathon block, what does that look like
Sure.
for you?
Yeah, so let's assume I'm running 70 to 80 miles, which, might take some time for me to get back to that point, but that's kind of what I was doing, going into my first marathon. But yeah, Monday, I'm usually recovering from the Sunday long run, so I would do like a easy run and usually a double, so maybe like a 5 and 5, and strides. And then Tuesday is workout, so that's consists of intervals. Those are, like, more shorter, like, intense, like, working on speed a little bit. So maybe it's a ladder workout where you do, like, a 1,600 and 1,200, 800, 400 kind of a thing. And
Hmm.
then, not, like, super high, like, volume, but more on the speedier side. So, which I love because I love doing track workouts, so it kinda,
Yeah.
you know, brings me back to, like, doing the track stuff. Or maybe it's, mile repeats or something like that. And then Wednesday, I would think I was doing, like, a longer distance run to get recovered, and a lot of these runs are, like, pretty easy. Like, if I'm not
Hmm.
working out, I'm just trying to get recovered, so I'm going at easy pace, so I would do, like, 8 to 10 at one on Wednesday. Thursday would be another double, maybe, like, a 8 and 4 double. Friday would be an easier paced run. Saturday, I'd be either off or a short that's my shortest day of the week, so, like, really get recovered that day. And then Sunday would be probably the biggest day of the week where I'm doing a long run workout. So that
Yeah.
might be, like, between 15 and 21 miles depending on where I was at in the build, and it would have maybe, like, 3 by 3 mile within it at marathon pace, or it would
Yeah.
be a progression. So the first third is easy, the middle third is a little bit quicker, and then the last third is kind of at around marathon pace.
Mm.
So that's what I had been doing for my first build, and it worked really well. I think going forward, at least for the next year, since I'm coming back from the surgery, I think a lot of those doubles I'll end up either cross training or using my lever runner that I mentioned, where I can take some
Yeah.
weight off of my run. And I think I'll probably just stick to doing one workout for a while with the
Yeah.
long run workout, just because I want to make sure my body's strong enough, and I don't want to get greedy with the mileage. So I might not be running
No.
as much mileage for a little bit, but really leaning on the cross training and also being a little bit more flexible and instead of trying to hit a certain number for the week for the total mileage, like being like, I feel really tired today. Like, it's okay. I'm going to swim instead or just take off. So
Yeah.
being a little
Yeah.
bit more willing to do that. I think before I was very type A and I wanted to hit, my mileage and never cross train. And I've realized now that it's such a great tool. So learning to yeah, just not overdo it and get to the starting line healthy is what I'm more interested in now instead of seeing how much mileage I can run and then do the marathon. So, yeah, gonna prioritize my health, and build up slowly. And my coach has
Mm.
been really good at working me, and he holds the reins back and, says, "Don't get too greedy right now, like, be patient." Uh, and yeah, so I think the next, few months will go really well, and aerobically, I think I'm really ready to work out, but mechanically, I needed a little bit more time, but I think, after doing, uh, a couple miles back in the 30s, I feel really good, and we'll just keep building up from here.
Yeah. Cool. And when you were talking about, the training, or you when you went through this week, and you said that it can be hard to kind of hold back. Uh,
Yeah.
in terms of easy running, and this is something that I feel like it's different from runner to runner, how easy they go. I don't know if you're using your heart rate a lot in like intensity control, or if you go by feel, but for you, like how easy are your easy runs?
Good question. If I'm running lower mileage, so, like, right now, I'm running 30 to 50 because 'cause I'm, like, slowly building back up. An easy run could feel or it could be at, like, 7:20 to 8-minute pace, really.
Mm.
As I'm running more mileage and start increasing the intensity, the first mile of my easy run might be like 8:30, 8:40 because I'm so tired from the workout of the long run.
Yeah.
But that's the biggest thing I learned with marathon training after coming off the track is that you really have to take your easy runs easy. You can't I used to be able to just hammer like, 6:30 to 7-minute pace on a
Hmm.
normal training run. And now I realize like you can't do that and get ready for the long run workout that the next day. So I'd go by feel, um, and yeah, heart rate, I tend to look at and make sure I'm, like, in the right zone, but I don't I'm not tracking it like that closely, but I'll use it as a tool. But really just going off feel, and if my legs feel really tired and I just have really low energy, that's a good sign I need an off day, or
Mhm.
just a cross train. So,
Yeah.
and luckily I have a couple friends in Cincinnati that run right around my easy face, and so they're the perfect
Yeah.
training partners, and we'll meet up a lot to run together.
Yeah. So you do have people to train with also when you're home.
Yes, they are, they're not marathoners, at least not yet. One of them kinda does the
Mhm.
half, the other does a mix of races, but we all are around the same, like, all of our, just normal run paces are the same, so we're it's really nice to meet up with somebody every morning and help, with accountability. But for
Mhm.
long run workouts, my husband will, like, bike with me and hold all my fuel and my water, and so that's really
Oh,
helpful.
that's nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have a really nice bike path in Cincinnati. It's like 100 miles long, and it's shaded and it's flat. So to have a dedicated path where you can just bike or run, it's perfect for long run workouts because you can just get in a really good rhythm. So he'll bike with me and keep me company on those.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well, that sounds like a perfect setup.
it is. Yeah.
Cross training, you mentioned a couple of times already, and it seems like that is something that you almost discovered now during your injuries and coming back from them. And you mentioned that you've done several kinds
Mhm.
of cross training, like cycling and swimming and aqua jogging and all of that.
Yeah.
Uh, for you now, like if you look at kind of like before and after these injuries and realizing how important or how well you're benefiting from the cross training, uh what is your take on that, or like how will you approach cross training now that you're slowly getting back to running, and even when you're able to run more, what will your cross training routine look like?
Yeah, I think, I'm much more willing now that, I wanna keep my body healthy, and that's a priority. So if something feels wrong, like, I'm not afraid to just hop in the pool and aqua jog that day instead of pushing through a run when something feels off. So being flexible enough to do that and know that I can still get in a good workout has been really helpful. I mentioned that my husband made me get a nice, road bike a after my first surgery. It was like, "You gotta get out of the house, like, you gotta do something and find something else to do," and I remember we've done like 50 to 60-mile rides together, and it almost, simulates a long run because it gets mentally tough. You got to bring
Hmm.
food along the ride or else you're going to bonk. And so I loved getting to do that and like push myself in a different way that I never got to before, but kind of felt like running. So that was fun. So I think it's nice to have all these tools. Like I've learned, how to do the road biking, how to aqua jog, how to swim laps, like having all these tools in my bag now for, on days when I'm feeling tired or I need a week off to recover from a little injury. I think that gives me a lot of motivation going into this next build or, the next year as I
Hmm.
build back up in mileage and knowing that, I can step on the line and not have to think, oh man, I only ran 50 to 60 miles in this build instead of like what I used to, which was like 80 miles. I can be like, man, I spent so many hours in the pool and the bike and I'm strong and my aerobic fitness is there. So I think, yeah, learning that has been so important. I'm really glad I have learned how to do those cross training methods.
Hmm.
I'm not a fan of the elliptical though. I don't like that one.
Yeah. I don't think you're alone
Yeah.
thinking that like that. But do you think that even when you're, back running completely, that you every now and then will replace some of those runs, or maybe more likely add some
I
bike
think
rides to your
so.
training? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing right now, and I see myself still doing that. I think it'll just help improve my fitness, and I also kind of enjoy it now. I got waterproof earphones, so when I swim laps, I can listen to music. When I'm aqua
Hmm. Oh,
jogging, I'll listen to a
perfect.
podcast, and then when I'm cycling, it's more time to spend with my husband. So I think, yeah, doing all those things, it's actually fun for me now. Whereas before I just thought of it as like a chore and it was so hard to even do like 30 minutes in the pool or an hour on the bike.
Hmm.
I really didn't like it. Now I actually look forward to it because I know it's benefiting my training. So yeah, I do see myself like on days where like maybe I had a planned double. but the first run, maybe I feel a little bit tired and I'm like, well, I want to feel good on my workout tomorrow. Like I'm not going to be afraid to, go aqua jog or go bike instead.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. I love that you're able to actually look forward to those
Yeah.
trainings that are to most people pretty boring.
Yeah, no, it feels good, and, I also strength training is super important for me, so I'm lifting twice a week, and I used to not like lifting at all, and now I realize, like, how strong it makes me feel and stay healthy, and it's just so important for the marathon, so I've learned to love lifting as well, so I spend a lot of time at the gym, but probably too
Yeah.
much.
But there was also another thing that I saw on when you had that takeover with the team yesterday on Instagram. I don't know if there was a question, but anyways, you posted something about these exercises that you did before every run, which I think that most of us
Oh,
we can
yes.
relate to not being great at doing that. Is that something that you I feel like maybe if you come from track, you're even better at that because you're better
Yeah.
at like I don't know if do you call it the drills in or like the warm
Yeah.
up? Yeah.
Drill I would call what I call drills is, like, when we're doing a workout and we do the warm up, then we do all the drills and strides before we
Hmm.
start the workout, but yeah,
Hmm.
beforehand, yeah, maybe some people refer to it as drills. When I was
No, I
on in
think
college
that's what I
okay, got
meant
it.
to, but I
Yes.
guess like what you posted yesterday was more like foam rolling and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Things that we tend to not prioritize. Those of us who are not running as professional as you.
Yes, I know that some people can get away with it and don't need to do that, and they can just start jogging slowly to warm up, but I think, after being on the Hoka team, I learned a lot, and, I don't know, I just kind of got in a good routine where every run I spend a few minutes rolling out the main muscle groups. After that, I'll do some like bringing in my leg, just different drills like on the ground. It's kind of hard to show you here, but
Yeah.
and then I'll use my rope and do just some like activation, like just get my hamstrings and the blood flowing in my calves, things like that. And then I'll do single leg glute bridges, monster walks, a lot of banded, like, standing, clamshells is a great one, so really just activating my glutes and making sure
Hmm.
that they're warmed up and ready to go. Maybe some leg swings, but other than that, yeah, it just helps me feel, like, warmed up and ready to run.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for that. I think that we tend to think that it has to take so long when you do it. Like, but I guess even 2 minutes or 3 minutes is more than nothing. So it's
Yes.
better to just do some of it.
Yeah, it's
I
hard,
definitely do that.
especially on, yeah, days when I gotta wake up early, it's the middle of winter, it's cold and dark, and I gotta go run outside. I think those are the days when it's really important because, your body's just woke up, it's cold out, like, you wanna make sure everything's firing correctly and prevent injury, but, yeah, sometimes I really don't feel like doing it, but
Hmm.
I just made it part of my routine, so
Yeah. And then you mentioned, when you're a part of the team, you have Steph there to kind of guide you guys and help you out. And having someone like her, and I think you guys talked a little bit about this on a panel as well after the screening, like having someone with as much routine as she has and, you know, uh, just getting to learn from her. What has that been like for you, and how much have you been able to learn from her?
Oh my gosh, yeah, she just has such a wealth of knowledge. She's so inspiring. I followed her and her marathon career for years. So when I found out that she was going to be kind of the mentor of this group, I was so stoked. And getting to meet her for the first time, she's just even better in person. Like just so humble, she's so sweet. She's so willing to share her experiences to help you. Yeah, I could not have asked for a better mentor, for Stamata. She yeah, she's been incredible to work with. She's, a mom of 3. She really does it all, and then she's still training and also working with Tracksmith, so it's so inspiring, and it makes me, I wanna be like her one day, like, I wanna have kids and still train at a high level, and sometimes it feels like that would be impossible, but seeing her do it just gives me so much confidence that I can too. So she's been really great to work with. Yeah, I've
Hmm.
loved getting to know her. I still can't believe was in Flagstaff doing a long run with her and, uh, just it was like a dream come true. It was like, "Is this even real?" Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah. That's so cool. It's fun when you're able to meet your idols or role models like that, and people you looked up to, and just get to know them. And it seems like, yeah, because sometimes they say you shouldn't meet your heroes or your idols or something like that. It sounds like it was
Right.
the opposite for you.
Oh, yeah, and we do sometimes we'll do these little check-ins, so we'll have, like, a 15-minute call with her, just one-on-one, and every time I do, I leave feeling so much better, and as I was, like, navigating through my recovery with my hip surgery, I was having a little bit of runner's knee pain just because I needed some quad strength to come back, and we were just talking about that, and I was she just reminded me to be patient and just trust the journey and that, your recovery is not gonna be linear. And also I love how she mentioned it on the panel that you went to, but I love how she always reminds us that, nobody cares about your running. Like, you are
Hmm.
the only one that cares this much. Like, you gotta take a step back sometimes and not stress so much about it. That's like I love when she reminds us of that, so
Yeah. No, it's great. It's also clear when you look at the docu series or the panel that you guys have kind of you connected well, and it's such a good team, and it's fun to see how you all are cheering each other on, and uh, like combining that competitive. You are all competitors,
yeah.
in a lot of ways, but still supporting each other. It's really nice to see, and something beautiful that's been created there. And I love that it's being highlighted as well. And I feel like, I decided to do this series on all of you on the team.
Yeah,
So
I
hopefully I
know.
will have all of you on the like the Sundays, or on Sundays throughout the spring.
Yeah, I love that you're
But
doing that.
yeah, I thought that was a good idea, especially since I really love the story, and I feel like it's good, and it's nice to have this, and then you get even longer. Guess like longer episodes to get to know you
Yeah,
guys, and
yeah.
it's nice, and obviously I'm curious as well. And so I have a couple of questions before we wrap this up, in terms of like the team. What what is it that you would say that has been the biggest, I don't know, takeaway, or what you've benefited the most from or learned the most from by being a part of the team?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we all have so many different backgrounds. I'm coming back from a surgery. Maria, went from running a mile to a 250
It's
marathon.
so cool.
Everyone has just such a unique story, and that's why I'm glad you're going to be interviewing everybody because everyone has such a great story to share that's so inspiring. But with this group of women, I think I was so surprised at how when we come together, especially at these camps or whether it's a race, how much uh, better it makes everybody. Like, when I was, running with the girls I mentioned, like, I really had no confidence that I was fit at all, and I was able to, bring my best self and do this workout with them, and I was really surprised I was able to do that, but it was like, man, they really encouraged me. Um, and I also have loved getting to learn everybody, especially the moms on the team because, we have Allie, Maria, and a few others that are moms, and they're still running at a high level and
Mhm.
training and working a full-time job. So, I guess for me, like, I wanna have a family one day, and so being able to talk to them and hear how they do it all and that they can do it, that just it excites me because then it gives me confidence that I'll be able to do that one day too. I obviously won't be able to train at a high level forever, but it gives me confidence that, I can have kids and then still, have marathoning be a big part of my life and, compete at a high level. So, yeah, that
Yeah.
was another surprising thing.
Yeah. It's so nice that you're able to, that you can gather women like that, and then you can get that out of it, right? Like, maybe things that I'm sure, or I don't know, but like my guess would be that when you were selected for the team, that wasn't necessarily what you thought would be the biggest takeaway, and then you end up getting that. And it's
No.
kind of beautiful.
Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
great group of women. Yeah, everyone's gonna be, uh I think learn everyone will learn a lot listening to your podcast when you interview every group or every
Hmm.
girl on the team, so
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm excited. And you did post yesterday, I think. I think some people asked you what your favorite items from Tracksmith were. Uh,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna ask the same question. What is it that, like, what things from Tracksmith is it that you like the most?
Yeah, I love, yeah, the session shorts, I'm wearing them right now. They're the shorts that I'm always grabbing first. They, like, never chafe, they have a bunch of pockets and really cute colors, so they're just so comfortable. I love wearing shorts that feel like they're not even there, especially when it's, like, a super hot summer run, you just want, like, a nice lightweight material, so I love all their shorts, they're incredible, and then their merino wool shirts, I really like. I have the short sleeves and long sleeves, such great quality, and especially, like, the other day, we've been having really cool weather for May, but it was, like, 40 degrees in the morning, so I've been wearing, like, the nice short sleeve merino wool shirt, and it just is good at regulating the temperature, sweat wicking,
Mhm.
and they never smell, which is cool, so
Mhm.
they won't get
Yeah,
stinky.
that's something that I really appreciate actually. It
Yeah.
doesn't smell, and that's
Yes.
something that you don't get that with a lot of brands, so it's something that I appreciate.
Yeah.
Might be
And
that
then
some people
they're
think it's gross, but it's nice to be able to not have to wash it immediately after and wear it for a couple of runs at least.
Yes, yeah, it is really
Yeah.
cool, and then their lounging clothes, yeah, I love their crew necks and hoodies, and they come in really nice colors, and their shoes
Mhm.
are actually, yeah, been great. I've been very impressed with their shoes. I love
Mhm.
their the Elliott Runner is a great daily
Yeah.
trainer, and then the Elliott Racers, a lot of the Stamata girls have been racing in that for the marathon and doing
Mhm.
well, so, yeah, it's a great shoe.
Yeah. Awesome. Last question, Katie. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I can tell that you're very ambitious. Obviously, that's why you've been so. I don't know. Persever- I don't know what word, like, I don't know, stubborn is the right word, but like you've been pushing through still, although you've been facing these challenges. What are your ambitions going forward and like long term? What is your big goal or dream?
Yeah, so right now, um yeah, right now is making the Olympic trials, but I also think running sub 2:30 is possible for me, and I think that would be really cool. If I did that, I'd be pretty satisfied, but, I think I just wanna have running, like, long term. I just want running to be a part of my life. I love how it makes me feel. I love how it doing that at the beginning of my day just sets up my day for success, and it brings out the best in me. Um and I think with running, unlike some other sports, like, it's just something you can do competitively at a high level for a long time, which is great. I also just love the community, so I'd love to maybe get into coaching one day because 'cause I'm not gonna be able to coach my one girl when she graduates here in in a couple weeks because
Yeah.
she's going to college, but I think maybe being, uh, involved in high school coaching or just helping others, like, achieve their goals, and give back, I think that would be really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time and for everything that you shared. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I hope that you'll make the biggest comeback ever when you get back.
Thank you so much, Christian. I really appreciate you having me on.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much to Katie for coming on. I am very impressed with her. I told her just after we started recording that endurance or like that stamina to just keep on working when things are not going your way is really admirable. And I'm grateful to her for sharing this story. Thank you to you for listening to the podcast. Really appreciate you being here. And I hope that you've enjoyed it. I'll talk to you in the next one, which will be tomorrow. I really appreciate you. And I'll talk to you later. You listen to the Marathon Podcast, brought to you by Wild Studio and me.